Perhaps at some point, each of us entertains dark thoughts like imagining ourselves being arrested and wrongfully convicted. Although such an event is unlikely to happen these days, it did occur in the past. Establishment of the Court of Appeal. The Court of Appeal in Britain was established in 1907. Before that, it was almost impossible for someone convicted of a crime to appeal the judgment or seek redress. While reformers had long called for the creation of appellate courts, the unfortunate individual named Adolf Beck played a pivotal role in finally bringing them into existence. Life of Adolf Beck. Adolf Beck was born in Norway in 1841 and led an ordinary life, moving between South America and England. The incident. One day in 1895, while Adolf Beck was walking down Victoria Street in London, a German lady named Etile Missonier stopped him and demanded that he return her jewelry. Beck was baffled and tried to explain that she had the wrong person, but she insisted. Beck sought help from a nearby police officer, explaining that this strange lady was harassing him. However, Etile accused him of swindling her out of her jewelry in front of the officer. Everyone went to the police station, where Beck's tragic saga began. Accused of fraud, Etile Missonier claimed that some time ago she met a charming man on the same street who greeted her and struck up a conversation. She invited him to her home, where he claimed to be related to the prominent Lord Salisbury, who later became Prime Minister. He invited her for a cruise on his yacht and wrote her a check to buy what she needed for the trip. Using a clever ruse, he persuaded her to hand over some of her jewelry before leaving. She later discovered that he was a fraud and that the check was worthless. Finally, she claimed that she had found the swindler, Adolf Beck. Multiple complaints and testimonies. Coincidentally, several other women had reported similar complaints. They were brought in to identify the swindler who had tricked them. Beck was placed in a lineup with other suspects, and all the women pointed to him, identifying him as the culprit. 2 police officers testified that they had arrested him for a similar accusation in 1877. Unjust verdict. Adolf Beck was tried under the name John Smith and sentenced to 5 years in prison. Despite proving that he had lived in South America from 1873 to 1884, the judge sentenced him on March 5, 1896, to 7 years in prison. Imprisonment. Beck spent 5 years in prison before being released on bail in 1901. 3 years later, the police received a new series of complaints about fraudsters tricking women and stealing their jewelry. Beck was arrested again and brought to trial after the women identified him and filed their charges. New trial. The trial took place in June 1904, and the jury found Beck guilty. This time, however, the judge was prudent and postponed issuing a judgment against him.